Chinese President Xi Jinping is repeating his call for stable and healthy Sino-US relations. He spoke in a meeting with America's top diplomat, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, earlier today in Beijing. The pair held talks in the Great Hall of the People. It's the highest level trip by a US official to China in nearly 5 years and is aimed at reducing tensions between the superpowers. Mr. Xi and Mr. Blinken met for nearly 30 minutes. After the Secretary of State spent 10 hours in talks over 2 days with other top Chinese officials.
The United States has a long history of successfully managing complicated, consequential relationships through diplomacy. It's the responsibility of both countries to find a path forward, and it's in both our interests and the interests of the world that we do so.
Our CNA's Lo Minmin joins us live from Shanghai to tell us more. Minmin, a much-anticipated meeting, brief as it was, what was achieved?
Well, President Xi sent a very clear message to Blinken, not through his speech, but through the seating arrangement. President Xi presided over that meeting at the head of the table. That is a departure from tradition when he would normally sit with other U.S. cabinet members in a more informal horseshoe formation side by side. It is also in sharp contrast with President Xi's meeting with Bill Gates just last Friday, when the two men sat side by side as well. Now, the Chinese statement said that President Xi hoped Mr. Blinken would make a positive contribution to China-US ties with this visit. And analysts are saying that the tone of the statement doesn't sound as if the two sides had met each other halfway. Instead, but it is still a good thing that they met, short as it is. Clearly, the very wide-ranging issues that China and U.S. face, everything from China's stance on Ukraine to the Taiwan question, all of these would have been hashed out over the much longer 7.5 hours long meeting that Blinken had with Qin Gang, and also the 3-hour-long meeting he had with Wang Yi. Those were two very substantive meetings with some positive outcomes. The two sides agreed to increase people-to-people exchanges and also increase the number of passenger flights between the two countries. They also agreed to maintain high-level exchanges, and Qin Gang himself accepted an invitation from Blinken to visit the United States in the future. Analysts said that Qin Gang's upcoming visit to the U.S. will likely lay the foundation and help iron out those details in preparation for President Xi's trip to the U.S. at the end of the year, when he intends to attend the APEC summit. But it's still not clear whether the two presidents will meet at the sidelines of that summit.
Minmin, apart from this possible meeting, what other developments can we expect between these two superpowers?
This meeting between President Xi and Blinken really cannot be seen as a breakthrough, given that it is a norm in the past for U.S. secretaries of state to meet with the Chinese president when they come to China. And also in this trip, both sides have not agreed to restart military-to-military dialogue, which was top on Washington's agenda. But still, analysts say that it does indicate that there is commitment from both sides to at least restore relations to the point in last November, when both presidents had met in Bali and agreed to put a floor to their relationship. Now, China has a lot of stake in this because its economy is not doing so well, and more sanctions from U.S. will not help matters. Analysts also said that China has an audience in Europe and other American allies. It needs to reassure them that China is able to cooperate with the U.S. So as to convince them not to put all their chips in with the U.S. to jointly suppress China. That is why we see Chinese Premier Li Qiang also on a trip to Europe at the same time when Blinken is here in Beijing. Analysts say Li Qiang's main mission is really to convince European friends to remain neutral in the face of China's core interests. And going forward, we can expect more high-level exchanges, including possible visits from the U.S. Secretaries of Commerce and Treasury in the coming months.
Thanks for that, Minmin. CNA's Lo Minmin reporting live from Shanghai.